A few Goldilock Bears podcasts with Vincent Cloud.
John Nennis.
And David Lauer.
And this is a show where we talk about loves and hates and differences. But sometimes they're ambivalent and or things we're on the fence about. Things in the gray area of life. But before we do any of that good stuff, we talk about old topics. We call this segment the Deja Few. Go ahead, Dave.
So we had a topic. We were talking about seafood. I think Vince, you were talking about how you hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was my mother-in-law's birthday and she wanted to go to Red Lobster and went to Red Lobster and it's just like I don't know, like my mom loves Red Lobster. Everybody loves Red Lobster. At least they say they do.
At
And
least
like
everyone's
every time
mom.
yeah, and like I go there and it's just not good at all. Like, and I like seafood a lot. Like, I like fish. I'll eat, shrimp, like lobster, crab. Like, I'll eat anything. I'm not super picky, but it's just not good food. It's not like a good version of those foods. Is the problem. Like, I'll eat anything, but Red Lobster is bad. And it kind of made me realize with seafood that it's like it's hot or cold. It's not nothing's right in the middle. It's either you love it or you hate it.
It's not really
Uh
Goldilockable.
yes, it kind of is. Because with seafood, it's like either great or it sucks. And like the food I got like sucked. The service sucked, but just putting the service aside, just the food itself, it was bad. Like everything was bad. It was like it seemed like it was undercooked. It was super squishy and watery. And I get that the food came from the ocean, but like wring it out a little bit or something. Like there's like puddles of water on my plate. It was gross. And I hated it. And I don't want to go back there. And I don't think I will until like next year for another birthday.
Next year on this very day.
Yeah, because I've for Mother's Day or not Mother's Day, but her birthday, we've gone to Red Lobster the last 3 or 4 years, like clockwork.
Could it be that rest like that chain? Isn't there like Long John Silver's and stuff? Bubba Gump
So Long
Shrimp?
John Silver's is like fast food seafood.
Oh, I've never
And
ate at a Red Lobster, so I assumed it was the same almost.
no, they're like the Olive Garden of seafood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's supposed
Um,
to be like fancier and more upscale,
yeah, I
but
mean, I remember growing up that like we never went to Red Lobster because it was like too expensive.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, now looking at it, I have the same opinion that Dave had of it, and like it's just not good. And um, glad my parents didn't waste their money on it.
speaking of wasting money, um I went with my wife and my mother-in-law. And like mother-in-law, it's her birthday. She can get whatever she wants. She gets like the king feast, lobster, crab, shrimp. It comes with like 4 different types of seafood on there, plus 2 sides. My wife orders, I don't remember what she ordered, but something that was expensive as well. And then me, I'm like, uh, I'll have this. It was like some stuffed fish or something, but it was tied for the cheapest thing on the menu. And then I get the
I'll
bill
have
and
a baked potato, please.
yeah. So I felt like it's so expensive. I get something that's $15 and then I get my bill and it's $90 and I'm like, "Oh God." Like can we all just order something under $20, please? Like come on.
Not at
Uh,
that
Uh,
place.
well, since I'll probably never eat there, I heard something about their cheese biscuits. Is that a thing?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cheddar
so
they bring them
biscuits?
out at the beginning. Like when you first get there, it's like the appetizers, they're cheddar biscuits, and it's
but they're
probably the best thing they serve.
but they're like free, right? Like they're like the chips and salsa at a Mexican restaurant. Like you can just keep them
Yep.
coming. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep, they'll bring out more. They're good, but they're like, I don't know. I think they're good, but they're also super dry and they're super salty. They're like too salty. And it's like it's like one of those things where it's on purpose, where they're like just trying to get you thirsty so you'll buy more drinks. It's one of those things. Like, I'm on to you, Red Lobster. I see what you're up to.
Got your red Claude.
Yeah.
A red pincher. All right. Should we get this show started? For chance.
We should.
I will go. I believe I have to start. Let's talk about my hate. So something fucking really annoying happened the other week, or basically my energy company was like, "Hey, you haven't paid." I'm like, "I have. You know, I've got receipts," as the kids say, but they're like, "No, no, no." And they've been sending me two different bills on for two different dates. That's what I realized, because I barely open up my mail. I just use everything online on my laptop to pay bills, all that stuff, right? So my energy gets cut, and then that's when I look at the envelopes. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And the shitty thing is that they don't, once your power's off, they don't let you pay online. Like, it's just not a thing. You have to call. So this is why I hate using my phone to make a payment, because it's like, okay, you wait a long time, then you got to press numbers, and you better hope that you don't fuck it up. Sometimes the numbers, like the actual pressing, doesn't work. It's fucked up. Like, I had to, change it up, restart the whole goddamn thing. That was super annoying. And then they throw in curveballs where they're like, okay, if you want this confirmed, say yes. And it's like, we were pressing things. Why all of a sudden do I have to say something? And that's always given me problems. Maybe it's because I'm a mumbler, but I'm like, yes. And they're like, did you say no? And I'm like, no, I said, and they're like, no, confirmed. It's so annoying. It's like, if you're outside of it, I'm sure it's funny, but when you're dealing with it, especially in the heat, you have no fucking electricity, it's
And the
so
dark.
annoying. Yeah, you're in the dark. So all the waiting and stuff, and yeah, it's fresh in my mind. That's why I'm like, oh, this is a good hate. So yeah, what do you guys say?
So do you hate paying stuff on your phone like on an app, or just over the phone like telephone calls?
Oh, over the phone, I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because use an app, use an online website and stuff. Those are so simple, but maybe it's just specifically Excel where they're like, oh, the slap on the wrist is now you have to endure the torture that we all know is using the phone. Have you guys ran into this sort of thing? Like, I think it sucks every time.
Yeah, I mean, I will always opt for just the website version or the app version of doing something, and will only like pick up the phone and dial a number as like a last resort. But yeah, at first I thought kind of more what Dave was getting at, that like, um, like maybe this ages me, but like there's just stuff that I feel like is easier to do on like a real computer with a keyboard and stuff. And I have like a preference of doing that over like on my cell phone. Like even using an app or whatever. But yeah, definitely either of those I much prefer over dialing a number and sitting on hold and talking to someone.
Yeah, I used to, when I had to deal with Excel, I always did the over the phone payment because it was like, and that was like the only option. I don't think they had a website back then, or at least I didn't do anything over a website. I always did it over the phone because it was like you either send it in the mail in an envelope with a stamp and write out a check. And that's a lot of, you got to write out the check and you got to put it in the envelope and all that. And then you have to, either put it in your mailbox, and then you're accounting like, well, okay, it's going to take them a couple days to get it. How many days until they actually open it? And then how many days until they actually cash the check? And when you're tight on funds, you don't know when they're going to withdraw that money. It could be in 7 days, it could be in 14 days. And when it's, $150 to $250, like, I need to know when you're taking that out, because I need to make sure the funds are there. But yeah, I had to, so I always did it over the phone because it was easier and it was more of like an automatic withdrawal. Like when you did it over the phone, it did take it out at that time. And that's why I liked it. But I do remember that because it had you type in all the numbers and then it'd be like, all right, say yes to confirm this. And I'm like, well, before I was just hitting one for yes and two for no. But then now I have to just say yes, and you have to hear my voice as if it's, like a verbal contract or something. I'm like, but I'm not even saying my name. You don't even know who's on the other side of this phone. Like, I could be held at gunpoint right now. And just because I'm saying yes doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't know. It's like when you use a credit card at a store and they're like, sign your name on this plastic keypad. And I'm like, what the fuck is this at this point? Like, it's not like you're taking those signatures and it's going to some data bank somewhere and we're gonna, like, if there's a dispute on the charge, you're gonna like, oh, we have this right here. Like, no, you don't know. You just throw those away. It's just, the screen gets cleared and they just go on to the next person.
To be fair, no one says yes like you, Dave. So I'm sure they're like, play the tapes. That's clearly louder.
Yes.
Anything
But
about
his
the
eyes are
phone?
saying no.
Yeah. Segue challenge.
Actually, I have a good segue if we go to my topic.
And if we don't, you're like not gonna say anything.
Then I've got nothing because I'm tying them together,
All right, let's go to John's.
In this situation, the voice telephone is clearly not the right tool for the job of paying the bill.
Oh, that was good. That
But
was
I
good.
love having the right tool for a job in situations. There's just, I don't know, like situations like putting furniture together or whatever, like sometimes, you get it in the screws, are a weird size and like sometimes like your default screwdriver you use, it kind of works, but it's, like slipping a little bit, you're not getting it. But then when you like go to the toolbox and get a different screwdriver and something that was just like taking you like 3 minutes now takes like 3 seconds, like that just feels so good. Or like, like anything can kind of work like a hammer, but it works way better if you have an actual hammer. Um, or even like software stuff, um, you know, like you can use preview on a Mac as kind of a really shitty photo editor. Like you can kind of crop and delete stuff or whatever, but just if you actually have like an image manipulation tool, it just works so much better. And like just anything where like you take like something that's you're struggling with for like half an hour and then all of a sudden it just becomes like a 30-second thing. Like that stuff just feels so good when you actually do it the right way.
Uh, it just occurred to me a couple of weeks ago that I barely have any tools. Do you guys own tools?
I own a lot. Not as many as I used to because I recently lost my toolbox.
Oh
But
no.
I'll quickly tell you the story of me losing my toolbox because now I never have the right tool for the job. But we were gonna go camping and I parked my camper in my driveway and my wife's car is right next to it and we have a very small driveway, there's no room. So I'm like trying to like sort out stuff I'm putting in and out of the camper. I took my toolbox, I set it on top of her car on like the back of it wasn't on top of the car, but it was on top of the trunk, like on the back of her car. And because I needed some random tools out of there to do stuff on the camper as I'm packing it up, make sure everything's in there. Well, at some point, Brooke, we're in the house, and Brooke's like, "Hey, do you want to go over to this store, this discount store called Gold Diggers, and they got a bunch of deals on sales today? So let's go over there." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we hop in the car and we start driving over to that store, and then I'm like, "Okay." And then we get back, and then I'm like, "Where's my toolbox? Like,
Oh
oh,
no.
what happened to it?" And then I'm like, oh, I set it on the back of your car. I'm like, I never heard it fall off when we were driving. Like, what? How did this? So I drove back. I hopped in and drove back, going like 15 miles an hour. It was only like a 3 mile drive, and I'm like, I'm gonna see it somewhere. Nope, wherever it fell, somebody scooped it up right away because they saw it and they scooped it up. Because like it would have just been on the side of the road or something. But it was gone, and I lost my toolbox. So
Dang.
um, and it's I say toolbox, but like I'm kind of lying, trying to make myself feel better. I didn't have a tool. I do have a nice toolbox, but I don't even use it. I have an ice cream pail, a gallon ice cream pail, and I put all my tools in it because the toolbox, there's like all these drawers and containers that like open up, and it's too hard to find everything. But if you just have a bucket and you put all your tools in a bucket, it's way easier to access everything because I don't own a bunch of tools. I just have some screwdrivers, Phillips. I have like a drill and I have some drill bits, and then I have like a wrench with different sockets. And then, I have like a hammer and some duct tape. But that's not in my tool bucket, my toolbox. But
The
yeah,
ironic
so
thing is, whoever stole it thought they were getting actual ice cream.
This rocky road hurts.
What the bad part is I think one of my favorite knives was in that bucket, and I think I lost one of my favorite knives. And I was talking about it on the show a couple weeks ago. I love a good sharp knife, and I was looking for it because I'm like, I haven't seen it in a while. Where is it? And then now I've kind of dawned on me that it was in that bucket, and it's gone now. So I'm a little bummed about that.
By the way, I listened to that knives topic that I missed out on, but I've got some good discussion for our next Oops episode. So,
Okay, nice.
Listeners, prepare yourselves.
And
go ahead.
I was gonna say for like the with my wrenches and sockets, I never have like the right one that I need. And it's like I think I need like a 3/4 inch socket because I wanted to sharpen the blade on my lawnmower, but I can't find it. And it's like I didn't need a 3/4 inch. It was like an 11/16. And I'm like, why the hell? Because like the 3/4 inch is too loose. So I need an 11/16. And I'm like, why is this even a like why do they make sockets that size or why do they make bolts that size? It just makes no sense, and it just kind of pissed me off because I don't know, it just sucks.
When you bought your tool set, you're just like, oh, anything with a 16 in it, that's going in the trash.
Yeah, because like I'm like in my head I'm like it probably needs to be metric, but no, it was standard. It just needed to be 11/16, I guess. I don't know, or maybe I didn't have the right metric one that it was supposed to fit.
Future topics should be things that go missing. Like I am haunted by the things that aren't around me. I'm like, God damn it, where are they?
The ghosts of
Yeah.
your former possessions.
Yeah,
I have so many socks.
I'm possessed by my possessions that are no longer here. Oh yeah, all those socks. Holy shit! Speaking of, I fucking, there was a little edge of my sock underneath the washer, that thing in the middle that goes up and down and spins. The little tip of my sock
Yeah.
was still visible, and I was able to pull it out of there. It was getting
Man.
sucked in there. Man.
Wow.
It was like Gandalf holding on to that. Like, fly, you fools.
Oh, John, your dad owned a bunch of tools. Are you trying to one up him?
No, not at all.
Oh.
But when I graduated from college and was moving to the big city, that Christmas they asked what I wanted. I'm like, I want like a good tool set. And like my parents were shocked by that. Like, John's not really a handy guy. Like why just sudden interest in tools? I'm like, just be good to have around. And that's the tool set I still use to this very day, and it's come handy more times than I can think of.
I just want to say there are cheap tools. I bought something, I don't even know what the brand name, but from Walmart. and I don't know, they don't even feel heavy or something. I don't know if they have to. I don't know. I don't respect tools, but I want to because my dad had a kick-ass tool thing in the basement. It was awesome. Like fucking
Yeah.
power tools and shit.
I always go to Harbor Freight, which is like a discount store for tools, and they have like a lot of like similar tools that they sell at Walmart, that like that kind of cheap stuff. But like I've heard that like the rule of thumb is like, yeah, it's a cheap tool and it could break, but if you're just like a regular Joe Blow that isn't very mechanical, you're probably not going to use it enough to break it. So just buy the cheap stuff. And if you do use it enough where you do break it, then next time actually, fork over the change to actually get something of quality.
What's the brand that you own, John? You know?
Craftsman, I believe, is the thing. So I think they're like kind of known for being not expensive but decent quality.
Yeah,
Custom
this
20?
it kind of touches on a future topic that I'm going to have, which is brand loyalty, where some people are super brand loyal to certain brands. And it is that way with tools, especially like power tools. Some people are like Old Milwaukee, some people like Ryobi, or what's the yellow one?
The
I
Walt.
don't know. DeWalt. Yeah, that's a big one. People love
So
DeWalt.
we had an early topic. I think I called it corporate cultiness. But
Right.
that was more about like Apple people and like the console wars and that kind of stuff. So we could definitely revisit that topic with a lot of other stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it goes for everything, whether it's like the gas station that you like to stop at. It's like, oh, I always go to the same one. And it's like I'm loyal to that brand of gas station, where it's like, what the hell's the point? It's like, well, I do the rewards code thing. And it's like, you're buying into their stupid BS.
You gave them your info.
Yeah.
Segway. Challenge. I say lefty loosey to Levy. I don't know.
I think that a segue is the right tool for the
Oh,
job of getting out of this topic.
Uh, let's talk about my love. I love ghost stories. Um, like a good ghost story is awesome and exciting, and it's like, to me, like, and I was kind of reminded of it like when we were talking about UFOs before, but like ghost stories are a little more close to home. Uh, like I something about them
compared
I
to the
like.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah, they're from another universe or planet or whatever dimension, who knows. Like ghosts are like really creepy, and they like kind of hit home a little bit more because you're like, we've all been in a graveyard, we know people who are been dead. I don't have like a personal ghost experience myself, but I still love scary movies. But like I really love a good ghost story. Like if you're talking to someone in person and like you're hearing a good ghost story, like there's nothing quite like it. And it's just like if you're like sitting around a campfire telling ghost stories, like it's great. I have like a couple that I've heard from other people, like family members who have had like supernatural experiences, and they're great. There's a there is a YouTube video. There's a ghost story by David Stern, who was in City Slickers and Home
Oh yeah, that
Alone.
guy.
Yeah,
Daniel Stern.
Daniel Stern. Yes,
Oh
sorry.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Daniel Stern. And if you look up Daniel Stern on YouTube, Daniel Stern ghost story, he has one where he was like on his honeymoon or something. It's just like 3 or 4 minutes long. It's just a ghost story, and it's just great. And he's an actor and a director. He's very talented himself, so he's good at telling a story as well. And it was just like a little interview of a ghost story, and it was great. And it was just like I randomly saw it, and I was just like, man, ghost stories are great. I freaking love them. Uh, do you guys know any ghost stories? Because if you do, you should tell them to me.
Um, I don't have any personally. I remember Vince, were you along when we went to that abandoned insane asylum
Oh my
in
gosh, I was gonna
Marshfield?
try and tell this one. I think we're
Okay.
gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you actually did you actually see something? Because
The guy
I
down the hallway.
maybe go for it.
No, I mean that's what I saw. I saw a guy standing where there was no floor. Dave, I think I actually got you and like Steph and drove over to that building, but it was demolished by then.
It was like in Marshfield.
Yeah, yeah,
Something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we were looking at like the rubble of the building, and I was like, I don't think it's safe to go in there.
But I don't know. I saw it. What about you, John?
I did not. I just remember someone saw it. I didn't remember if it was you or someone else. And the way I remember hearing it was, and this might actually be something different, but somebody seeing a person through the window, but then only later remembering we were like on the second floor when it happened. So they would have been not on the ground.
Exactly.
And if it
Spooky.
was a window, was it a reflection through the glass?
No, we were pretty far away. It the size wouldn't match up.
Okay, I gotta
Yeah.
try to debunk it a little bit.
Oh no, that's fine. Like I don't know. I've seen shit and I don't know, the idea of like, oh, maybe there's people that are more sensitive to it can see it. You ever hear that theory? Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've
totally
definitely heard
buy
that
into
theory.
that. To me, I will never be haunted by anything because like I don't give a shit, and that's like I feel like ghosts. They're like, it's pointless because they could like slam doors and like move shit around my house, and I wouldn't even notice. I was going, oh, well, that was creaky old house. Like I just, but like there's other people who are I don't know, but you always hear about like, but seriously, you hear about like kids like who are like ages like 3 to 6. They always like they'll see stuff and hear stuff that like, oh, I saw this, and they'll say like weird creepy stuff about how they saw like, and they'll say names like the little kids will say names of like people's like dead relatives. They're like, you don't even know about this person, like they talk to you, like what?
And well,
Remember one time in college, we a bunch of us got like tape recorder and we like went to these creepy places and we're like asking questions to the air and then listening to the tape later to see if there was anything there, but uh nobody deigned to talk to us, unfortunately. There was also like a cemetery near the campus which for some reason just had like a really creepy vibe to it, like you just felt creepy being there, where I spent a lot of time in cemeteries at night and normally didn't get creeped out, but for whatever reason, that one had a weird feeling to it.
I think I went there with you. I
Yeah, I
think
think so
Drew
too.
Drew was there, and he's like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Like he was the one. If anyone were to be haunted, it was him.
I
Uh,
heard a story about I saw it on the internet, it was probably fake, but it was still interesting to me. But it was someone was like in a Tesla or some kind of automated piloted car, and it had like if they put up like the heat sensor or the motion of what was going on, they were driving through a cemetery, and then the car would stop as if there's a pedestrian walking in front of them, but they're like there's no one there. And it happened on like multiple occurrences in the cemetery, and it just the car kept thinking that there was people walking in front of them. It was like, holy shit, that'd be cool. Lock the doors.
And then
okay.
the passenger airbag light turned on as though there was somebody sitting in the passenger seat.
So I've had plenty of supernatural encounters. Just growing up Native American, holy like everything's about spirits. Not everything, but there's a lot of belief in spirits, and there's a thing called a ghost meal where you have a meal like almost every year for like specific people in your family. You eat the food that they loved and stuff like that. There's just a lot of spiritual stuff. but crazy things that have happened. Like I remember I worked at somewhere and there was like you could hear the voices, people talking downstairs, and I thought they were fucking with me because I had to work nights. No, you can hear fucking voices downstairs, and immediately, since I grew up like, oh, sometimes you talk to the spirits just so like, hey, I don't want any trouble. I'm just here to do a job. You know what I mean? You just kind of just talk, you know. And so I just did that. I was like, hey, I'm looking at after these guys, and they're special needs. What are you, monsters? Don't fuck with them, you know, or just something like that. And but there was other stuff growing up. Our dad is a Vietnam veteran, and he ran into one of his other buddies he went to the army with, and he was like, hey, can you hold on to this? This is a keepsake I took from one of the Viet Congs, and it was like some hat or something personal. And my dad was like, yeah, sure, all right. And my mom was like, I don't want that in the house. Like, I don't want it here. And he's like, oh, it'll be all right. But my dad takes off, and that night we're watching Mars Attacks, and and in the room next to the living room was my mom's bedroom where that fucking hat was. And we heard like drawers opening and closing, and like the wire hangers moving across the fucking, the pole and stuff. And it just kept going. And eventually there was a loud crash. And like already, like, I think I was standing kind of closer to just in case it came out of the bedroom, whatever it was, but nothing happened. It was freaky as shit. We were all crying. And yeah, I don't know, the closet collapsed. But that didn't the drawers were fine. So it was just like, what the fuck? So my mom was like, I don't want that thing in that, that's the first thing she thought. She's like, it's a Viet Cong entity or something, So we got rid of that. But yeah, I have a lot of fucking crazy ass stories that are unreal, but at the same time are were part of life growing up. It's fucking weird.
You mentioned growing up Native, that was just a normal thing to think about or talk about. So like growing up in the particular vein of Christianity, like anything like spiritual is like demonic, right? So like it's like evil spirits and that kind of shit. Like, so like, if you do a Ouija board, you're talking to a demon. There's no way there's like anything like not evil that would communicate with you through that. And like I remember in grade school, people talking about like the Bloody Mary thing you look in the mirror in the dark or whatever. And like I mentioned to my parents that like, oh yeah, kids were talking about this, and they're like, don't ever do that. That's like evil spirits or whatever. And like I was afraid of mirrors at night for like years after that. Like a normal parent should be like, hey, like it's okay, like it's not real, or like just at the worst just say like, just don't do that and you'll be fine or whatever. But they just like made me way more scared of it than I ever was before. To the point where like even like as an adult, I used to just kind of get creeped out like by mirrors at night. Like that really scarred me for some reason.
They should have been like, Bloody Mary, that's childish. You gotta fear the Candy Man. It's like the same fucking thing, right? Oh my gosh. Oh,
I remember being terrified of mirrors and saying Bloody Mary 3 times. Like my sisters were like, I dare you to do it. Like, come on. You're just scared. Do it. Come on. And I'm like, okay, like I don't care. I'm like, nothing's gonna happen. So I did it and nothing happened. And I'm like, see? What the fuck?
I love that every once in a while your sisters emerge on the show and they're never positive.
Yeah, they're always just bullying you.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, like they were just like, come on, do it. Just because if they were scared of something, they would just be like, hey, let's get David to do it. Like, let's get this little shit kid to do it. And then, then we'll see if it's safe or not.
Every once in a while, we see a entity walking through past the doorway behind Dave. That's got to be something supernatural.
Did you now? Because I don't think there's anyone home.
Oh, funny.
Shit.
I have another one that's bizarre. So our medicine man passed away, who was a really close friend of my dad's, and it was like the wake or after. So I think he was already buried, I think, but my dad was like drinking. He's like, "Well, here's to Chuck," and he like stumbled back and he grabbed a root out of the ground. Well, he fell, and it was like this long ass root. And he was like, "Oh, Chuck, he this was him. He helped me from not hitting my head too bad when I fell just now, because that's just how we think sometimes. So he took the root and put it in a circle, like braided it into a circle. And, he shows up. He's like, "Hey, this is Chuck." We're like, "Okay, Dad." That night, we are woken up at like 3 a.m. or something. And Mom's like, "Come down here, kids," and shit. And I don't think we were all woken up, but I was woken up for sure. And they were like, "Remember that root that Dad had? Said that was Chuck?" We're like, "Yeah." And he took it out from under the pillow, and it was glowing green. and, and I was like, "What?" And my dad put his hand through the hoop, and it wasn't on the other side. And then my dad's like, he's like, "Ma, look through the hole." And she's like, "I am not ready to do that." And I was a kid and 3 a.m, but we all saw it. Like, that's just a story for the family. So
Was this like a magic trick he was doing, or was this legit?
no, we don't fuck around when it comes to the spirits, man. That's like, I'm serious. We don't. So
But
like
like to say he put his hand through it and you didn't see it on the other side, that's like crazy.
yeah,
That's...
it is. but it's perfectly sane at the same time. I don't know. Yeah. But I got a bunch of stories. I'm not going to bore you guys. Well, I would bore you guys if I told you all the stories.
I'm not
So,
bored yet. Keep them coming.
these things are like 2 hours long, these podcasts. It'll be a deja vu, okay?
Okay. I have like one small little creepy story that I heard from my aunt. She lives on like a small farm out in the country in Wisconsin, by the town of Strum. And she lives on this old farm. There's electricity, but there's no like telephone line. There's no indoor plumbing. Or no, they got some running water finally. They finally got some running water, but like they don't have like conventional like a washer and dryer or appliances or anything like that. It's very like old timey. You have a fireplace, you have a stove that like you burn wood to cook your food. Um, and on this old farm, uh she would always say that when she would go, she was like, "Well, I'm gonna go get some water from the well, and I'm gonna listen to the church choir." And she would go and get water from the well, and she would always say, "I when I listen and when I'm getting water, I can hear a church choir coming from the well." And we're all like, "That's crazy, that doesn't make any sense." And she's like, "Well, I was telling that to the neighbor who lives across the street, and it was this really old man who lived across the street." And he was like, "What did you say? You hear a church choir when you're getting water from the well?" She was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, here's the funny story about that. When they were digging that well, the owner who was building the house, he had a young daughter that had fell into the well as they were digging it, and she was trapped down at the bottom of the well. So they were trying to get help to try and get this girl out from the bottom of the well. And some of the church ladies in town came over and started singing hymns, um, as she was trapped down there, and they were trying to pull her out. There was church ladies who came and were singing songs. And I guess the little girl didn't make it. She died, and that was the reason that she would always hear church ladies singing when she would pull up water from that old well.
Man, you almost spoiled it by saying church lady. I just immediately think of SNL.
Dana
Isn't that
Carvey.
special?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the visual, but you know.
Oh man, I was trying to. Well, I'm trying to make a board game, and has to do with some ghosts. So I did a lot of research this year, I think. Well, anyways, researching ghost stories, like even like stuff that we know, like the screaming banshees and stuff like that, and the woman on the road and stuff. All of those stories, the origins are extremely depressing. It's nothing but women getting fucking put through hell, and it sucks. I was so depressed reading all those ghost stories. It sucks.
Yeah, because isn't the deal, or like they always talk about, it had to be some traumatic event that like imprinted them on the world or whatever, depending on what theory of ghosts you follow. But yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you
And
this.
she died peacefully in her sleep.
All right. So say there's a pill you could take. That will make you sensitive to ghosts. Would you try it out? Like, it only lasts like maybe 10 minutes or something like that. Would you
10
try it
minutes?
out?
Oh yeah, I'd give that a try.
Oh, you could hear the ghost saying, "Hold on, I'm on my way." We're not everywhere,
No, I wouldn't, because like of kind of the thing you were saying, of like how objects, you can like a spirit can attach itself to an object, like that theory of things, where like if I do that and I make myself sensitive, well, what if a spirit like attaches themselves to me, you know?
True. Ooh, freaky.
Like and kind of like with that, it reminded me, I went on a trip to New Orleans, and they have like lots of voodoo shops and weird creepy voodoo stuff. And like I had heard someone saying, they're like, whatever you do, don't go to the voodoo shops there and buy a voodoo doll and like the legit stuff that has been like made by some of these people down there, because they like practice voodoo, like legit voodoo. And if you can buy like a voodoo doll, they say, and they're like, and like bad shit will happen from it. They're like, I would not take that and put it in your car with you. If you're going to be driving 12 hours down an interstate, you don't want to have those evil spirits in the back seat with you. And I'm like, and I don't even like believe in stuff like that, but I'm like, but why risk it? Because like I don't fucking know. Like I don't want to be like,
do I
what
need
was
a
I
voodoo
thinking?
doll?
Yeah. It's like one of those things. I'm like, I'm not gonna push my luck. I don't want to risk it. Not buying one. Sorry.
Segue.
What spooky tales await us with our next topic?
Let's see here. Oh, it's me. I will go with let's go with my love, the idea of flying. And Peter Pan, you fly with fairy dust from cute Tinkerbell, but you got to have a good feeling, right? You got to stay positive while you fly. I can do that. Sounds like a lot of fun. I grew up thinking like, oh, never ending story when you're riding on Falcor through the clouds. It's fucking cool. All this oh my gosh, all this cool ass shit. But when it comes to like practical flying, like in a 747 or whatever the fuck it was, when I took a flight, it wasn't magical. Like it wasn't thrilling. And in my imagination, I wasn't going to be surrounded by a bunch of strangers, a crying baby. It was just like, oh, that's it. And I wanted to fly so much, though, when I was a kid, I would write that to Santa Claus. I'm like, listen, I know you give away toys, but can you give away powers? Can you grant wishes? And yeah, a couple of Christmases, I'm like, I want to fly, My mom was
And
like,
he's like, you can fly this year. as one of my reindeer.
Oh shit.
Monkey pod that shit.
You know, Donner and Vincent. Oh, so I thought I wanted to fly, and a friend of mine, he was like, "Oh, for my birthday, I'm gonna go skydiving. You want to go?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to go." I made the joke of like Toy Story, like that's not flying, this is falling with style. And I just don't want to fall. It just seems freaky to me. So I just didn't do it, and I probably never will. Um, but if I could, if I didn't mind, I would want to do one of those wingsuits. You guys ever see that? Where you look like a
Mhm.
fucking flying squirrel,
Yeah.
Rocky and shit. Yeah, pretty awesome. And then also, drone footage is cool. I like to do that stuff. Yeah.
What about
Uh,
hang gliding?
no, shit. I don't know, maybe. I did what's the one where you're in the sky being pulled behind by a boat? What's that?
Parasailing? Is that what that
Yeah,
is?
I did that. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. But it's just like I don't think I'd ever do a hot air balloon for some reason. Fire next to a popping balloon is weird. I just don't like it. Um, yeah, what do you guys think about flying? No thoughts at all.
Like I went skydiving before. I thought skydiving is it's kind of like flying. Um, but like you go up in like the little tiny crappy plane, and I always tell everyone, I'm like, people are always like afraid to jump out of the plane, but like if you're in this tiny little tin can of a plane, like you want to jump out because it seems so unsafe. You're like, I trust this parachute more than I trust this little tiny plane. Um, but like I was there was a professional parachute diver or whatever you call
Yeah,
skydiver
yeah.
is like I'm strapped to him and he's like on my back, and they do it by like weight and size. So like I had like the smallest guy there because I weighed the most. But it was great because like having a small person on my back, I felt like Luke Skywalker, and there's like a little like an Australian Yoda behind me. And it was great. Like, and I just asked him, I was just like, how many times do you guys jump, like go up in the plane and jump? And he's like, we go every 45 minutes. So, like, in a given day, we'll go between 10 to 14 times we'll jump. And I'm
Holy
like, that is
shit.
a lot of jumps in one day. And once I knew they jumped that many times, I'm like, okay, so this is like super routine. And it really like put all my nerves aside. And like the actual jumping part, it was great. It didn't feel like you're falling. It just feels like you're floating, and there's a shit ton of wind blowing in your face. Cause you're just like floating and there's just all this wind blowing at you, and you're just like, okay. And then once you pull the parachute and then you kind of slow down, then you're like, whoa. Then that was the freaky part, is like when you're free falling for like a minute or 45 seconds, that was no big deal at all. But it was once you pulled the parachute, then you start to float. Then I was like, whoa, this is kind of freaky, because then you kind of start to move left and right and kind of get a, I don't know, like it was like my inner ear and my balance kind of like took over and kind of was reset, and I kind of felt more mortal. Um, but I don't know. But like when it comes to flying, I personally don't want to fly. I don't know. It's just I don't really think about like myself like wanting to fly. I feel like I'm good.
I feel like if you could be like an eagle or something, like that would be pretty badass. Like already like, you know, knowing how to fly, like that, just like let the eagle instincts take care of that. And then you're just kind of like experiencing it, like swooping around.
Like if
Um,
you had an eagle body, that would be having the
yeah,
right tool for the job.
exactly. Yeah. Um, but I just think of, I don't know, like hang gliding seems pretty scary to me. Um, like I would do skydiving if I was like with a group who was arranging it or something, but not I don't have enough desire to do it to organize it myself or make it actually happen. Trying to think of like, yeah, like the flying parallels and I don't know. I guess it's not something I think about a lot. I just want to think about like the actual like if you were moving fast enough to be flying, what the wind would be like. Like, would it be just windy and cold and unpleasant?
I think that's what the
Especially if you
movie
hit like
Chronicle does.
like what if you hit like a flock of birds and you just like oh,
Bird strike.
Bird strike. We're going down in the Hudson.
Yeah. Anything else about oh, one of my favorite songs of Pink Floyd is Learning to Fly. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So put that in your
There's-
pocket.
There's a Foo Fighters song, Learn to Fly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't mind that either. Yeah, I just fucking you were never asked that? Like, oh, well, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Like I would do fucking flying for sure.
Oh, invisibility all the way.
It's always the fucking perverts.
No, I'm gonna rob a bank and I'm gonna look and I'm gonna see what your PIN card, your PIN number is for your ATM. I'm gonna get rich stealing money.
All right. That's respectful.
Then I'll buy the women
guess.
fair and square.
John, what's your power? Oh, those two are taken, by the way.
Those two are taken. God, I don't know. I don't need to sleep anymore. I have more time for my interests.
Holy shit. Has any superhero ever been called that? Like it's awake, man.
It's hobby man.
That's yeah.
Is he helping people with his power? No, he's just spending more time playing video games.
He's learning to crochet. I think the next best power would be like the power of foresight to see the future.
Ah,
like a precog.
Yeah.
I precog
And
to
then
my pants.
The lack of ability to do anything about it.
Really?
And nobody believes him. He's Cassandra man.
Cassandra man. Is he androgynous or something? No.
There was a TV show in like the late 90s where a guy would get the newspaper, like the Sunday newspaper, like a week ahead of time.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
Early
he
edition?
would see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was
Early
that Kyle
edition.
Chandler? Is that his
remember.
name? I thought he and Ron Livingston were the same person forever.
No, I don't know who Ron Livingston is. They look alike, though, I'm guessing.
He's
He
from
looks just
Office
like Kyle
Space.
Chandler. Yeah.
I have to look up Kyle
Oh.
Chandler.
Office. Yeah, okay, they look alike for sure. Yeah. Why haven't they ever played brothers or something?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, they're not related. I feel like they have to be.
All right. Anything else? Because let's segue out of here.
Let's soar on to the state fair,
Okay.
which I'm indifferent to. I went with my wife to the Minnesota State Fair last week. First time we went in years, but we almost feel like kind of obligated to because we're semi within walking distance to it. And, it's like such a big deal that people are like charging like cars to park in their front lawns and stuff. Like they're making money on the week because like people want to park nearby the fair and stuff. So felt like, if we don't have to park anywhere, it's a shame not to go, right?
Exactly. That's like a $20 coupon.
Yeah, exactly. Like the stuff I don't like about it is, there's lines for everything. And it's always a gamble if the thing you're waiting for is going to be worth that wait or not. And I can't even like look at prices of foods. It's just like, well, I'm gonna bring, you know, some money and I'm just gonna like if I see something I want, I'm just gonna get it and not think about how much it costs because it's just ridiculous. Uh Not as bad as Red Lobster though. Um some stuff that at the Minnesota State Fair I always enjoy. They have like this arts and crafts building, but then there's one section where they make like seed art. So they just take seeds of different plants that are, all different colors and sizes, and they arrange them on like a board to draw different pictures and stuff. And like some of them are like oddly political, which is always funny. Like, what a weird medium to be making your political statements on. Like, there was a couple about like Tim Walz and stuff, because he's from Minnesota. Um, the local news stations here always get super into it, and they'll broadcast the local news from the fair. Just today, before I came on here, they were interviewing someone who were in a llama slash alpaca costume contest where they like dressed up their alpacas in costumes and like entered them in a prize. There's a pageant called Princess K of the Milky Way, and all the like the winner and all the runners up, they sit in this like chilled room wearing like winter coats and stuff, and they have these giant blocks of butter, and an artist like carves their face like their bust out of these like giant blocks of butter, and like the winner gets to take their block of butter home with them. Like it's hilarious. um yeah, there's just all kinds of just like really bizarre stuff that's like the only place you'll see something like that. um Then there's like always like big music events at like at the grandstand at night. Um, like I'm trying to think of like who was even there this year. I know like last year when I was there, the Offspring was playing. So, bands who are not necessarily number one anymore, but running the state fair circuit. But one year, like early on when I was going there, they at one of the free stages, they had this Beatles cover band called the Liverpool Legends. And it was actually really fun and cool because they like did costume changes. So they did like the different eras. Like it was the first, like just them wearing their suits with their floppy hair, and then um did like Sergeant Pepper's outfits and all this different stuff, and like it was really good. Like they did a great job with it. So,
That's awesome. I saw them live in like the town I live in. They
oh
came
really?
and did a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great show because it was just like you said, they started off in like the early 60s and they were dressed in their suits, and then they would play like a little bit of a tape or whatever, and then it'd be like, okay, now we're moving on to these albums, and then like their wardrobe would change, and then their beards would get longer, and then it was great.
But yeah, some people like go multiple times every year. I went to it and I now kind of feel like, oh, I may be good. I'm definitely good for this year. Maybe the next one and the one after that too, but it's definitely fun to go to every once in a while, I would say.
I've never gone. Dave, have you?
When I was in like ninth grade in high school, we went to the Minnesota State Fair, kind of. Like I say kind of because like we went there, but we all went to like this indoor building like right next to the fair, and they had like all these shops, and like everybody had like their stand where they're like selling their own like goodies and stuff. But like we're in ninth grade in high school and we have no money other than maybe like the $10 our parents gave us for lunch. Like, so we were there and we walked around, and the only thing I really remember was they had like a chess grandmaster, and you could sit down at one of the chess boards, and he would walk in a circle and play against, like 20 people, and he would just do one move at a time. And I remember, like, because I was in the chess club, I was like, I'm not very good, but I think I could hold my own and at least like put up defense against what he was doing. But I couldn't, like, because he immediately would move pieces knowing what my defense was going to be, and then he would just do something else attacking two of my guys, and then I was just like, holy crap. And I ended up walking away before it was even over. I just like resigned, and like I had no manners. I didn't shake his hand like good job. I just like walked away like, this is bullshit, let's
Flip the
get out of here.
table.
Yeah, this guy's too good. But like I didn't get to go to the outside portion of it at all, so I was like kind of there, but not really. It does sound really awesome though, because it seems like there's actual like hometown Minnesota feel to it. Like I go to like the Tulsa State Fair in Oklahoma, and there's nothing like Oklahoma about it. It's, they have carnival rides, they have like the place with all their tables where they're selling stuff, and you can go to all the food trucks, but there's nothing unique about it at all. They have like the farm section where they have like goats and chickens and pigs, like that are just in tiny pens, and it's just like kind of sad to see all that. And
It's
like
sad,
it's
but I do like to look at the weird chickens. Like there's some crazy looking chickens out there.
my sister owns chickens, so I feel like I've seen enough chickens.
Yeah, but are they crazy looking?
No, they're pretty normal. I
You
guess
would
I need
look
to look for the crazy ones.
you would look crazy if you were a sad chicken too.
uh, I just remember it being super expensive. Like I paid like $20 for parking probably. The eating at the food trucks, everything is like $15 at least, and you don't get a whole lot of food. Like I remember back in the day, it was like, yeah, it's expensive, but you're getting like a big quantity of food, and it's like nowadays it's like this is a bucket of cheese curds. It's not even a bucket, like it's like a plate, and it's supposed to be a bucket. Like, come on. But yeah, and just everything was expensive, and I was like, and then you had to pay extra, to go on rides and get a wristband for that, and I felt like I went there and I spent $150, and I was like, I feel like I would have just been better off just going to Walmart buying like a take and bake pizza and a movie. Like I would have been better off. Oh
Oh my
wow.
gosh. Wow. John, you
Yeah,
have to talk about your
look at
chickens.
them. Look at these chickens. There's ones with like that look like they have like little puff balls on their heads. There's ones that look like David Bowie.
Oh yeah.
Um, the I like the ones that have like really furry legs and stuff and like furry feet. So they look like they're wearing little like um um I don't know, like snowmobile suits or something.
Great. Yeah, I've never been there, but I assume all states fairs are similar because I've gone to, Chippewa and Nilsville and some other fucking in the middle of nowhere thing. And all the fairs seem to be similar. Mondovi as well. They had a fucking, in terms of food, a Snickers ice cream bar fried. Oh, oh my God. It was so good. It was nuts. Mullets too. Are there a lot of mullets there?
I mean, you always spot a couple at least, but not as many as I would have expected to.
I think that's it attracts the mullet people, those fairs, Oh, let's talk about skee ball. I just gotta say, I love playing skee ball at a fair. Or any time I could play skee ball is a good time. But I associate it with a fair for sure.
Because of Dogma. I suppose that was just the boardwalk. That wasn't actually a
All
fair.
right.
But
Oh, I have a weird memory of a fair. not an affair, a married one. But I was
Uh,
A
it was
fair to remember.
yeah, it was, but not in a good way. So me and my brother go on this little kiddie roller coaster. You know, you've seen them, right? They're like really small and little ups and
Mhm.
downs or whatever. But my brother was so scared of like heights and a lot of stuff. So we're sitting together and he's freaking out. So he just grabs me and he's hugging me, you know, while we're going on this ride. And ahead of us for two girls, and I of course was of the age where I'm like, oh God, like I actually am into girls. This is a terrible thing what you're doing, you know. And those girls were just like staring back at us the whole time. So humiliating. Anything else about the fair?
Memories.
Oh, I remember I had to take, you know, I work with special needs people, and we had to take them to the fair, and I was like, "Dad, there's okay, I'll call him some name, David." Yeah, sure. I'm like, we are not taking David to the fair. He's a wild man. Like we could barely control him here. And they're like, no, he'll actually behave himself at a fair. He knows. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, just go on. So we get over
there's
there.
real consequences at the fair.
he this guy, he is so rude. He is so like, you know, whatever pops in his head, that's what he's gonna do. But he loves rides so much. He knows to stand proper and wait his place in line. It was so bizarre. I was like, I've never seen that side of him ever. Yeah. So we should
Huh.
have lived at the fair.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Segue. Oh, are there tractor pulls or anything like that at that state fair?
Ooh.
Because those could
I
be
don't know. I don't
fun.
think
They're really
they, yeah, I
light.
don't think they do that kind of stuff anymore. Like they're like tractors and like farm equipment and all that stuff like used to be a huge part of it. Like they called it Machinery Hill where they'd have all that stuff. And now there's just like this one tiny little street where they have like a few tractors, and I always would take my wife down there and tell her which tractors I've driven before, and she was so impressed.
It's like that country song. She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Yeah.
You
I see
sucked her in
that.
like a tractor beam.
See that John Deere 4020 there? I used to drive one of those.
Oh
Tractor
man.
people know that's a good tractor.
I drove tractor for a job, so I don't know what type it was, but I learned stick by tractor, by tractor light. All right, should we get out of here? Segway style.
Yeah, let's go back to our car that we paid $28 to park and get in traffic and get out of here.
Uh, yeah, whatever, Dave.
Dave.
Oh, is it me next?
Oh yeah.
What do you guys want me to do? My hate or my indifference?
Oh, John hates it when he's given an option. Oh, anything.
I'll do my hate just because it's in my head right now. I hate CrossFit. Um, I was gonna do CrossFit as a topic. Like Vince, you prompted me to do CrossFit, and I was like, yeah, why haven't I? Um, at the beginning of this year, I did like my wife does CrossFit. She's done it for like the last 2 years. So like at the beginning of this year in January, you can get like a free, any member can like bring someone like a friend or a spouse, and you can go and train at the CrossFit gym for 30 days in January. So I did it, and I did it like full well knowing like I'm gonna go and like give it my all for 30 days, and then I'm probably gonna quit. Like I knew going in like CrossFit is kind of weird. We all like it has like it's like people talk about it and they're like it's kind of culty like Scientology, like CrossFit people are weird, they like try to get you to buy in and like come on man, you should come all the time, come to our workout session, like go to the 6 o'clock, don't go to the 4 o'clock, because they have like different times, and like they have trainers who work at the gym, and you like go there and you all do your exercises. They have multiple types of equipment and you do all your exercises. Like you start at like 6 o'clock or whatever, and you're like, this is our workout of the day. And it's called like the WOD, and it's like workout of day, WOD. And then you have like they have like different what do you call it? Like the like analogies, not an analogy, but like the 3-letter terms that stand for
Acronym?
something else. Acronyms, yeah. They have couldn't find that word. They have the acronyms for all these different things, and I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I'm like, what's a clean? What's a jerk? What's a clean and jerk? Like these all sound really perverted to me, but they're like, no, they're not. It's just you take the barbell and you do this and you do all these exercises. And I realized I didn't really hate it at the time. However, like since then, reflecting on it, I do kind of like, I was gonna say I was indifferent to it, but due to recent events, they had like the CrossFit games in Texas and somebody died.
Ooh.
And they're still doing an investigation into it. But a guy in like the swimming portion, he drowned, and he's like, there's camera footage of it. There's people all around him. There's 2 people on paddle boards that we're assuming are lifeguards. They're doing an investigation. We don't know that they're lifeguards. Maybe they were just employees that were out there to like help out. Like we don't know if they have certification or not. I mean, maybe if you go on the internet, you might be able to find that information, but I really don't know offhand. But just like how they handled it in general, the death of this guy, they just kind of like, he was on the leaderboards, they put him in last place, and it was like did not complete, and it was like, the guy is dead, can you like take him off the leaderboards? Like it was messed up. And I didn't realize at my entire time when I went to a CrossFit gym that CrossFit is like a giant brand name. I didn't know it was a brand name. I thought it was just like a style of exercise. But like a CrossFit gym, they have to pay like a royalty fee of like $5,000 every month to be a CrossFit gym. And they pay $5,000 to this CrossFit company to be able to use their workout routines. And all their workout routines are like super basic and there's nothing special about them. But I didn't realize it was like a brand name, and all of these people, and like, because we have 2 gyms in our town, and one of them is a CrossFit brand, but the other one is not CrossFit brand. So they don't use that term. They're just like high intensity workout center or something, you know, some generic name. And it's like a cheaper membership. You don't have to pay as much. And it's like, oh, because you're not like affiliated with this big company. So now it's cheaper. It's just like a franchisee, like using, you know, McDonald's or Chick-fil-A as your brand name. Like, well, you could just sell your own chicken sandwiches if you wanted and just have your own name and not be attached to the big company. So I don't know. I've like learned a lot about CrossFit over the last year, and it's all just really kind of weird and not likable. Exercise is good. However, like CrossFit exercise is strange because they're doing everything super fast and doing as many reps as possible. And if you know anything about exercise, if you're lifting weights and you're doing as many as possible, as fast as possible, you're going to lose your form and you're not going to be able to do it safely. And you're going to end up hurting your back or your shoulder if you're trying to just rip out as many like clean and jerks as you can in 10 minutes. You're going to end up hurting yourself. And like, because they like, even when I was there, they taught me how to do like a deadlift. And okay, I did it with just the bar with no weights. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then we put on a little bit of weight, and then I'm doing that. And he like showed me the form not to hurt my back. But then as I'm supposed to do it like 20 times in a row, even though I've never lifted weights in my, like, I'm straight off the couch, I don't lift weights. I start losing my form and I'm bending my back and I'm like hurting my back doing it. And he's like, comes by and tells me that I'm doing it wrong and I'm not using the correct form. And I'm like, well, yeah, I was using the correct form in the first 5 of them. But by the time I'm on like rep number 17, 18, and 19, like I'm freaking tired. I can't do it properly. And that's just how CrossFit is, I guess. I don't know. I didn't like it.
John, do you have any, have you brushed with CrossFitters before?
No, like that was one of those things where um I'd never heard of it. And then like the first time I heard of it, it was people talking about how weird and culty it is. Um, like um being a vegan, I'm glad that there's someone around to tell people that they do CrossFit before I can get out that I'm vegan.
Uh,
So they kind of shield me in that way, which I appreciate. But yeah, other than that, no, I've I've only heard the bad about them before I was ever tempted to actually get involved in any way.
Would you ever try it?
I don't think so. Um I'm not a super workouty kind of guy, and if I was to get into it, like I would probably just find some like online program that I could just follow along with at like just an unguided gym.
that was going to be my suggestion because I was like, I feel like I could do all of these things at home with like relatively basic equipment. Like equipment's expensive, but I feel like I could do this in my garage, not pay the member. If I just took that membership fee and put it towards all this equipment, I could do it at home. And yeah, I'm like, I can go on the internet and find videos on like different routines to do.
Yeah, I mean, someday I would like to actually follow through in that. Like whenever I go to the gym, it's always just cardio, like around the treadmill or do the rowing machine or something like that. Because I have been like intimidated by weight lifting or anything like that because I just don't know how to do it. Like, how hard is it supposed to be? Like, even when I use the machines, I'm like, is it better to do a lot of reps with like a low weight that I'm comfortable with, or is it better to just like push yourself to the limit and then do like two or three of them? Like, I really don't know. Nor have I ever tried to research it.
A future topic should be P90X because I did that. Um,
Oh yeah, I remember when that was a thing.
yeah,
Probably
well,
still
okay.
is a thing.
Well, their thing was like it's muscle confusion or whatever. So that was their take. They're like, this is why we're different. Um, but then I heard about CrossFit and I was like, well, it sounds like there should be a lot of injuries. But what I really dealt with or whatever were people that do CrossFit coming in on MTV The Challenge. Emily was a CrossFitter and she fucking won in superior fashion. It's crazy. And then some other dude went on Steve Austin's Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge, and he won and dominated for a very long time. And God, there was another show, but like, yeah, CrossFit people were just like invading all these shows and stuff, and they were just these physical superior things. And yeah, I was interested. I wanted to ask you, Dave, like, did you know of anyone getting injuries or anything like that?
Um, like yeah, for sure. Like I work at a hospital in the X-ray department, and so like there's a lot of times I see people who are like in their 20s or 30s, and they're like there for back pain or shoulder pain, and I'll ask them like, "Well, how'd you hurt your shoulder?" They're like, well, I do CrossFit and I was lifting, and like my shoulder's been hurting me the last year or 6 months or whatever it is." So like I've heard of it like secondhand, like not like my wife, she goes to CrossFit, she still does. Um, but like I've had to like kind of coach her, like backseat drive as the person who's not exercising, telling the person who is exercising, I'm like, take it easy. I'm like, because like you kind of have to be your own advocate because like yeah, you can get super ripped, super jacked, and you can be like an awesome physical specimen. Uh but like at the same time, like you can really hurt yourself. You have to watch out for yourself because there's certain people who don't like know their own limits, and kind of the mentality is all about pushing the limits. So you can definitely push yourself too far, hurt yourself. Um And yeah, and it's very bad because if you mess up your back or your shoulder, like a lot of times, like you might need surgery, or it's going to be a lifetime injury where you're going to have issues with your back the rest of your life. So I've always like I told my wife, and she doesn't ever like try to lift her max, like whatever, you know, if you're like an Olympic like heavy weightlifter, like don't try and lift the heaviest thing there is. Like there are people in the gym that do that, but like you don't have to do that. And you don't want to like get into competitions and like, oh yeah, what's your personal record? What's your personal record? Like you don't want to be one of those people because that's usually the people who end up getting hurt.
How good looking were you with your shirt off after doing CrossFit?
Myself, not great. 3 out of 10 stars.
I mean, did you see results? Like, did you feel stronger? Like,
Um, I don't think I was going enough in that month. Like I went enough to get sore, but I did not go enough to like actually get results. I've had much better results just going to Planet Fitness and going around the weight machines, like not really knowing what I'm doing other than like watching a couple YouTube videos, but just kind of learning like what John's question was like how much like there's differing thoughts on like less weight or more weight. I was always kind of told like do whatever you can only do like 10 times, and on like the 10th try it's like failure and you can't do it anymore. They're like that's probably a good weight, so that way you can kind of do 5 and rest, and then do 5 again and rest, and then try and do as many as you can, see if you can get to 10 and then stop right there.
yeah, I watched those games, those CrossFit games, and it's insane how much these people are able to do. Like you see a whole stadium full of people doing burpees and whatnot, but just doing like an insane amount where you're like, whoa, that seems excessive. But they're all able to do it. You don't see injuries on there. I think the guy who drowned is a bitch. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Like
He
it's
deserves to be on the leaderboard as did not finish.
oh man.
How dumb is it that they even have swimming on there? Because I guarantee you, there ain't any CrossFit gym that has a fucking giant lake behind it. Where like we're gonna go swim in the lake tonight. Like, no, you guys are on solid ground lifting weights. Like, you can't expect everyone to know how to swim, and especially like I don't know what like how exhausted was the guy? Was he just lifted a bunch of weights before he had to go swim? 2 miles through a freaking lake. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird, that whole swimming thing. That was weird then when I watched it. I was like, I don't remember swimming being part of this. So weird. I don't know. I'll probably never do CrossFit, but it's always been interesting to me, like how you could take a clump of mold that is David Lauer and turn him into. I wanted you to have like pictures of yourself, like in the best shape of your life.
Oh no, it would have been like a regression of muscle mass. Like this was me, and then after I was like all broken down, and this is what my back looks like, and it's all crooked, painful.
I
Yeah, well,
mean,
next time do x-rays before and after for us then.
Dave, you've gotten into shape before. I remember you had these giant racks for biceps. I remember that. So
Did I?
yeah.
I remember being really fit when I was in school because I only worked on the weekends, and like school was super stressful to me. So I would always go to Planet Fitness like after school just to like get rid of all the anxiety in me. Because I would be like so physically depleted and tired, I couldn't like care about my stupid worries anymore if I was just like so like I could barely move. I was like, I can't worry now.
Segway challenge. Um,
Let's push ourselves to the limits and see how many more topics we can get in.
clean jerk. You're such a clean jerk.
The Clean Jerk Store called. They're all out of you.
Right. I think I'm up, and it's my indifference. I am indifferent to the drive-through. First of all, it's convenient, right? Hey, you don't gotta get out of your car and walk inside and talk to someone or stand in line. You drive in a line and you talk to someone right there. They'll take your order. The thing that's always bugged me is the idea of people fucking with your food. You know, like I've always had like, oh God, what if
I
that does
have
happen?
noticed that to be a phobia of yours just through these conversations.
Well, I went to McDonald's and it was like it took forever. And okay, that's fine, whatever. Sometimes that will happen, but it's that look when you pull up and you're about to give them the money, or say they get no, more importantly, when they give you your food, they kind of give you a look like, hey, have a nice day, as in like like I feel like I've been talked to like that at mechanics. They know they're fucking you over or something like that. There's this attitude. And then I realized, well, I don't go to the mall because there's goddamn teenagers there. That's all that works in most drive-throughs are teenagers. And that's now I have to, interact with them and stuff. And they're bored. And I've had people or known people that have worked at fast food places, and they're like, "Oh, don't do that," or "Don't order this," or, you know, one guy, he worked at Fazoli's, and he was like, "Oh, I fuck with the food all the time because you're bored. You don't got, you want to get your aggression out. You're working in this hot place." I'm like, "Oh shit, that makes sense, man. Let me just believe that to the grave." Yes. I don't know. What do you guys think of drive-throughs? Once
um,
again, the
I don't,
silence.
I don't, I don't like having my car running while I'm like sitting and waiting for stuff. Like just for that reason, I'm like, "Oh, I'm just gonna park and run inside if I need to." And honestly, like it's usually faster to go inside.
All right.
Like if you're going like at a meal time, like there's like a huge line through the drive-through, and there's like nobody inside because nobody wants to get out of their cars.
Yeah, I went to Taco Bell in the drive-through, and they had two lanes, and they had the mobile order lane and then the not mobile order lane. And everybody is kind of conditioned like, oh, use the app, and then you'll get points and maybe discounts on your food. So there's everyone is in the line for the mobile order lane, and then I pull up and I pass like four cars, tell them my order over the voice box, and then I pass all four of those cars and get up to the window, and they all use the app. I didn't, and I got my food first, and I
You
was
didn't
like,
give them
man,
your personal data either.
no. Well, I mean, actually, I think I do have the app, and I have given it to them in the past, but I just didn't think to use the app that time. Um, but I like the drive-through. I think it's great. I like the McDonald's app is super easy, and like I can get through it pretty fast. Um, I don't really worry about people messing with my food because like I worked at McDonald's when I was in high school, and like yeah, there's a couple dipshit
Aha, I
kids
knew it. It only
that
takes one.
would,
It only takes a couple.
but like most of the time nobody cares. And like the only time that somebody would care is if you came into the restaurant and they could actually see you. If they saw you and you were being like an asshole and like giving a complicated order and like telling them like yelling and being obnoxious and just like, acting like you're drunk in public, then they might mess with your food in some way. But other than that, like I feel like I don't know. I felt like McDonald's that I worked at was like super clean. Nobody was like doing that really, other than like I saw one guy do that, or at least he said he would do that. I never actually saw him do anything.
That's enough. That's enough for me.
But I do feel like in Oklahoma, we don't have a whole lot of teenagers working like at fast food places. It's all like adults. Like it's all 40-year-old people working the drive-through around
Adults
here.
can be bored. Adults can be assholes.
They all seem pretty. I don't know. I go to like the same McDonald's, and it's like the same people at the drive-thru. They're just I don't know. There's just like one lady, and she's like, "Have a nice day. You have a double cheeseburger. Have a nice day."
And
Like,
Vince is like, I know what that means.
yeah, have a nice day. Told him to spit on it.
Oh my gosh, I would hate it if someone would try and make a stupid joke. You know, they're like, what would you like? Peace on earth. Don't do that. Like it just like we're asking for it now. And then like our friend Jesse, he would make it a point to be super obnoxious at the drive-thru. He's like, "What's fucking fries?" It's a fucking like, and I would just analyze whatever food I ordered. I'm like, "Oh my god, they don't know the difference. They just ruined everything here." And I remember some girl. She was like, "Well, even if they do something to it, like I'll never know. You know, I probably put something worse in my mouth anyways." You know. And I wanted to be
Yeah.
like, oh, that's why you're fat and have an STD.
Truth hurts.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the convenience is cool, but at the same time, I'm thinking, well, it's bad food anyways. Like everything about it is kind of shit I shouldn't be doing anymore, anyways. But that still doesn't make it like I remember I ate a taco and it was right after some fucking little dude was like, "Hey, have a good day, sir." You know, I was like, "What the fuck?" And like the taco tasted weird, man. It tasted off. So I don't know.
I think I've definitely like there's definitely fast food places that I trust and don't trust. And I think you have to like get to know those like in wherever you live because you want to go to a place that is fairly busy. And like, yeah, you're going to wait in line, but you'll kind of get lost in the crowd of people. Because like I remember like in Eau Claire, if you went to like Hardee's or something, they were not busy. Like Burger King was not busy. So like if they have so much time on their hands, they're gonna get bored and they're gonna start messing with people. But if you go to McDonald's where they have a long line, like you're just lost in the shuffle and you're just gonna get your greasy, crappy meal that's probably gonna give you a stomach ache later.
You know, I will
Oh, should I forget?
never.
Is McDonald's a sponsor for this episode?
Shit.
Man, if I could get
I,
some free coupons, that'd be great.
I never like when I'm driving. Okay, there's a I'm about to enter the drive-through. No one else is there, but there'll be employees hanging outside having a cigarette, and you see them like roll their eyes and like put out their cigarette and go inside. I would literally just keep driving. I don't want to bother them. I've already pissed them off.
Put out their cigarette in your burger.
Yeah, I was like, I ordered lights.
Dude, I went to a A&W here, and this A&W has since closed. But I ordered like this double burger. I was so starving, and I'm eating this burger, and it was like one of the best 5 cheeseburgers I've ever had in my life. And I'm eating it, and the dude walks out from the kitchen, like walks outside towards his car, and he's like walking right next to me as I'm eating in their parking lot in my truck, and he's like pulling out a cigarette. And I look over and I made eye contact. He made eye contact with me as I have the burger, and I just give him a big thumbs up because I knew he was the guy who made it. He's like, "Yeah," and he gave me a thumbs up back. He's like, it was just like, I'm like, it was like a thank you, like this is a damn good burger, and he knew it. He was proud of it. He was like smoking a cigarette afterwards, like, yeah, I really hooked that guy up.
No, he fucked the burger, and he was having a cigarette. Oh my God, a future hate is someone parking right next to you when there's so many other parking spots when you're eating lunch and they park like, oh my God. Horrible.
Save it. Save it.
David. All right, segue challenge.
Oh yeah, I've got one. Wait, hold on a second.
I want to piss in his soda.
I hate making people wait
Oh shit.
for my topic. I kind of have like a weird, like, not phobia, but like an issue with it, like to the point where like I have like a fear of like being the one making people wait for me. Like I'll show up early to events. My wife had to teach me that like if they say a party's at a certain time, they don't want you there before that time. I'm like, oh really? Okay. Well, so then I'm like, well, what's the earliest we can go that it's not impolite that you're there too early? And like
10 minutes late.
yeah, exactly. So that's my sweet spot now. Um, but yeah, like it, even though like anytime like I have been running late, it has never been a big deal. It just, I don't know, like it's somehow ingrained in me that like I'll leave early, like make sure I have plenty of time for whatever traffic conditions it might be. Um, like even when it's people that I know they themselves are going to be late, like I'll feel like, well, I'm not going to be the one who's late and just make sure I'm there on time. Um, and I don't know what it is. Like it doesn't bother me that much if other people are late. Like I just like have like something like a book or something along to entertain myself while I wait. Like it doesn't matter, but I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Did something ever happen where you're like, oh shit, I made someone wait a long time and it just stuck with you?
Not that I can remember.
Oh,
I just was never willing to even let that happen.
maybe. Oh, did it take you like how long was the labor for your mom?
I was a scheduled C-section, so
Oh shit!
right
Wow.
on time.
Yeah, I bet that plays something. You know.
What if she was late for her appointment
Oh.
and you internalized it yourself?
I just had it kind of cuts into road rage where like I hate when people are tailgating me. You know, they're right behind me. A, because it's unsafe, but B, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Am I too slow? I'm making you wait, so I have
Mhm.
to, yeah, so that cuts into it as well. What about you, Dave?
I generally am like never late. I might the only time I will be late is if it's like something where I know it doesn't matter. Where like I always look at like my work schedule and I know what's going on, like what appointments are at 7:30 and I start work at 7:30. I know if there's something scheduled for 7:30, then I will get there 10 minutes, 15 minutes early so that way I'm prepped and I'm ready to go. But if I know there's nothing, I will show up at 7:32 and just be 2 minutes late because I know there's nothing going on and there's no stakes to be had, or it's no one's gonna get upset over it. Um, I I hate making people wait. Like when I'm at work, if you have a patient and they're ready, like, and it's not even about like the making. I don't want people to wait on me, but it's like I don't want work to pile up. And if I have multiple things I need to do, I just want to get it done. And like it also helps people not wait for their exam. Like I don't want people waiting in the waiting room,
Mhm.
but it's also me just
But
about
that's
like,
what it's there for.
yeah, I just want to clear the list. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we had somebody who was like, if you're taking somebody back, take me back. I've been here longer. And it's like, sir, this is a waiting room, so you can wait. It's like you're here for an MRI. Like there's someone in the scanner. We can't stack two people on top of each other. Well, I guess we could, but it's not conventional. We're not going to do that today.
I really like going back to self checkouts because if there's people behind you waiting, like that can make you anxious. But I've always prided myself for like knowing exactly what I'm doing. Like even if I go into a store and someone's with me, I'm like, I know exactly where to go to get this product. I'm not gonna fucking dilly whatever. I'm not
What
gonna
will
eat
you
any dilly
dally?
bars. Yeah, dilly dally. And I've always been like, no, I'm into like being on time, precise, because there is a thing called, well, I guess traditionally it's called CPT. we natives call it Indian time, which means you're like always late. And
Oh.
I've never appreciated it. I was like, well, I try not to be late, and like, our family isn't late, are we? But I've always not liked that fucking term or whatever. But I am, in a way, a late bloomer. Like I've always seen that in me. Like it takes a long time to do anything for me. Procrastination. So there is making someone wait. I don't know. Maybe the girl that I got the hots for, but I'm like, I don't know. In a way, I'm making her wait. Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Like I have friends who are late for everything, and it's just like, even though like they're ostensibly trying to be on time, I'm like, you're not really trying to be on time though. Like it's just like, what are you doing? Um, like how do you think of like eight more things you need to do before you walk out the door, or like that kind of stuff. Like I just don't know what's going on. And like you could like if someone called me up and said like, hey, I need you to come over, like it wouldn't take me that long to just get up and get out the door and go there. Like what so like when you know that you're something is coming up, like then it's especially crazy to me that it would just take a long time to get going. I just don't know what it is.
I I just had my fantasy football draft the other night, and it was at 7:30 p.m. And like I have like a group chat on Facebook Messenger, and I'm sending it out like reminders. Like this last week, I've sent out like 3 or 4 reminders. Nobody like responds other than one person, Jordan, and Jordan will respond and be like, "Hey, what time is the draft?" And he's just fucking with me because I've already stated right above him what time it is, and he's like, he'll just wait 10 hours and then be like, "Hey, what time is the draft?" And I'm like, "I told you." And I'm worrying that these people are going to be late and they're not going to be there for the draft, and then they're going to get angry about it, like, "You never told me." And I was like, but then the draft came, and legit, like, nobody was in the room, in the draft room. Nobody was signed in, and except for like 3 people out of the 10. I then legit 2 minutes before it started, everybody signed in and everyone was there, and nobody was late. But like I stressed about it so much because I was convinced that other people were going to be late, and then they weren't, and it all worked out great. And I was, oh my God, but I was just having anxiety over other people being late. And I'm like, I can't trust these people. These people are so unreliable.
Oh, what about, the thing where like, oh, a woman, if you're on a date, you make them wait. You know what I mean? Like I remember I took this girl to prom, and I was already nervous to begin with, and I had to pick her up at a friend's place, and I was there, and like her friend was there, but she, my date was still in the bedroom or whatever doing her thing, and I'm like, I heard of this, still don't like it.
I heard of this. I didn't know it could happen to me.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, what do you guys think of that when like, that's the lady thing to make you wait.
Yeah, I mean, if it's truly like a game they're playing, I hate it. If it's just that they legitimately weren't ready yet, like, oh, that's kind of annoying too, actually, but um, less less hateful anyway.
Yeah, I don't ever like to be like, I don't know, that's disrespectful to me to like be late or to play games like that, like, make them wait like by being late and just, I, I don't know. I've never done that. I've always just, it's just, this is the time I'm going to be there, and I will, if I'm too early, I will drive around the block like 3 times, and like I gotta wait 5 minutes, and then that way it's like, okay, I'm 3 minutes early. It's acceptable. It's like I gotta get within 5 minutes of this time I stated.
Uh, Memories rushing back where I'm like, I have to, oh, I'm actually early. I have to kill time. That's such anxiety. Yeah.
yeah, I used to like stop at a gas station and like I'm just gonna buy a Gatorade and then just like leave it in the back of my truck, but I'm not even gonna drink it right now because I'm like it's gonna kill some time. I don't want to be early.
Segue challenge. Let's not make our listeners wait for the next topic.
Yes.
We're not very
Uh,
ladylike. Sorry, guys.
I have
That's sexist.
indifference, and Vince and I are both fans of the UFC. Um, I would say I kind of love the UFC. However, I am indifferent to the current product that is the UFC. Like UFC is kind of not as good as it used to be. Like I would say like the product is kind of mediocre at best. Um, I have kind of a small list of grievances. Um, there's like the advertising is absolutely insane. There's ads all over the floor, the octagon, all around the cage. Um, even in between the rounds, there's 60 seconds in between each round of a fight. They will cut away to commercial and like you can't even like watch like what's actually being said because like when you're watching a fight and it's a pay-per-view and like say you like paid 80 or $75 to watch a pay-per-view, I shouldn't be watching an ad during like in between rounds, but instead I'm like watching an ad and I'm like, why did I pay $80 for this? And that's why I don't buy the pay-per-views anymore because they're trying to shove ads everywhere. um uh like a lot of times the fights are boring because there's so many different events. They have like a UFC fight night like every weekend almost. They deal with ESPN. They are like required to have so many different events on their network. So they just have like these events all the time and nobody knows who these fighters are. Even like the main eventers
Yeah.
are guys like Marcin Tybura, like a heavyweight that was
I don't know who
kind
that
of
is.
relevant. Yeah, he was relevant maybe for like 2 months in like the year 2018, which was like 6 or 7 years ago. And ever since then, like he's not that good, and he's somehow like he's headlining a fight night, and it's like there's so many bad fighters that aren't talented. um, like yeah, you'll still have like a good fight or two, but if you have 12 fights on a card and only two of the fights are good, like I'm gonna watch like 6 hours of your live programming for two good fights. I'll probably just wait and watch the highlights, on YouTube the next day. Um, yeah, and because of like there's so many different events, and also like the weight classes, there's certain weight classes that just don't have any talent in them, like women's bantamweight. Like
Oh, yeah.
Ronda Rousey retired, and then Amanda Nunes now retired, and there's now our champion is like Raquel Pennington. And no disrespect to her, but she is not at the same level as Amanda Nunes or Ronda Rousey. Like those two chicks were super dominant. Raquel Pennington, while she's good and she is technically the best that they have right now because she's a champ, she's not that good. She's not like beating people up and knocking people out. And it same with like even like the men's divisions. There's good divisions and then there's not good divisions where like if you look at like men's heavyweight, like the champ is MIA and we don't know where the hell John Jones is. Um, there's different. I would say like bantamweight for men, flyweight and bantamweight for men. Both those divisions stink. Flyweight is kind of not even that good anymore. Flyweight has like maybe like three guys that are good, but most of them are at like lightweight and welterweight. But even like the top of welterweight is not what it used to be. It used to be like one of my favorite divisions, but now like even the top guys are like, who is it? Leon Edwards was a champ, and then now it's like Muhammad, and like they're fine, but they're not like at the same talent level they used to be. So yeah, I'm kind of sour on the UFC. I'm just indifferent to it right now, and like its better days are behind it, and I kind of hope that it gets better, but I don't really have a whole lot of confidence that it will get better because their model is to just make as much money as possible by having as many events as possible. and selling as many tickets as possible, but like they they don't realize that they could make a lot of money if you just made a really good product, and if by the scarcity of the product itself will actually attract more fans, because then it becomes an event when you have a pay-per-view and you're like, oh man, there's UFC tonight, like they only have this like once every 6 weeks or 2 months. It would be an event, but when you have it every week, it's just watered down and nobody cares.
John, last time I mentioned the UFC, you were like, yawn, I don't watch it. Have you anything new?
No, I haven't. Despite how many times you guys have brought it up, I have not had any renewed interest to check it out.
Well, the product's bad.
Yeah,
It's not great.
yeah, I'm curious, like Dave, if you were king of UFC, what are the top three changes you would make? So you mentioned fewer fights to make each one more of a, or fewer events, I should say. What else would you do?
I would do fewer events. I would run it more like a sport and less like sports entertainment. Like I would have more clearly defined rules as to who's getting a title shot. Like I would go off of the rankings. Um, I would be very like you would have. I would like. I think it would be best if they had a union for the all the fighters had a union, so that way they're getting pay that is all agreed upon beforehand. Because the problem they have is now is like a champion will be the champion, but they can't book a fight because they're trying to negotiate contracts for how much the challenger is going to make, how much the champion is going to make for this fight. And it's like if you guys just had a union, it was agreed upon. Like this is what this year, this is what everyone's going to make, and then the next year, and you can kind of do like a 3-year agreement, and every year it will be a certain percentage of like the gross revenue, and the people in the finances can figure that out. But then you would at least know like, hey, this guy's the champion, he has to defend it, against this guy. He has 6 months to do so. If he doesn't, he's going to be stripped of the title, and if you're injured, yeah, then we'll have an interim champion. Just having more clearly defined rules, because now it's just like Dana White is in charge. He just kind of he plays favorites. Like he loves John Jones, even though the guy's a total dipshit. Like he's been a successful fighter, but like at this point in his career, it's like all like he's had like I feel like 4 fights in the last 6 or 7 years. Like we never see the guy anymore, but he won't strip him of the title, even though he hasn't defended it ever. I think because he won it against Cyril Gahn, but he's never defended it once. But they won't take the belt away from him, and it's been like 2 years, I would say. I don't know. There's a lot of things I would change, but just like the overall structure, I think just the boss being the president Dana White, he he just runs it like it's his own personal playground, where I would want it run more like a professional sports league with defined rules and standards.
Well,
I mean, honestly, that sounds great. Yeah, like if you're watching it and you don't feel like the outcomes are like based on the merit of what's happening, then I could see why that'd be very frustrating to follow.
I think I mentioned this when I was hating on Dana White, and what it was when like fighter pay sucks, but there's been fighters that have been turning into stars. Like they have a big fan base and stuff. But as soon as it was sold to ESPN and they finally have enough money now to spread it around, they didn't want to. They fired all the names. They fired all those legends and stuff. It was insane. Like he announced it. He's like, we're firing 100 fighters in the next few months. And we were all like, oh shit, that's crazy. We figured it would be all the people that are like no names and stuff, people that don't move the needle. No, he wanted to get rid of the names that get paid more typically, and probably assumed they'd be getting paid more now. So when I tune in, I don't know any of these fucking fighters, you know? Like, and again, with a fight every week, basically, you're just like, who, like, even if there's a cool fighter, you might not see him and you'll forget him for all the fights that happen after him, you know? Um, so, one thing I have to say though, that really sucks is that, the gloves, in terms of fixing stuff, eye pokes is one of the like lamest things that ever happens during these fights, and it's been kind of proven that not pride, but shit, Strike Force, I don't know what one of these promotions that was gobbled up by the conglomerate that is UFC had the proper gloves, where like it would cup your hands, or like you would be able to grip, but you can't point and poke, and that's John Jones' go-to, the golden cow of Dana White, you know. And we've had horrendous eye pokes in this sport. I would fix that. And one of the most annoying things is The Rock. He has this multi-million-dollar shoe deal with the UFC. Shoe. They wear shoes coming out to the octagon. Once they get in there, they take them off. I can't believe it. And my boy Nate Diaz, he's the only one who was like, "These shoes suck." Like, yes. Oh my god, thank you so much. Yeah, there is a slight glimmer of hope though, Dave, where maybe people are turning against UFC. The Sphere, there's supposed to be a fight going on in the Vegas Sphere.
Yeah.
And like there was like $5,000 seats in that thing, like one of the cheapest. However, I think they posted that up like maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months, I don't know. And I think there's like what, 2 more months to go, maybe. But no one's they're not selling, so the prices for those seats are down to like half of that, like 2,500. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. Oh my God. I hope this blows up in fucking Dana White's face and Sean O'Malley. I hate Sean O'Malley. I've mentioned this before, where if a white guy gets a win, Dana White's like, "Oh my God, this is the next, this is the next John Jones, but he's white. Don't you like him?" Like he just promotes the fuck out of him and stuff. And like Sean O'Malley I hate, like he's a striker, so obviously Dana White's not going to put him against a grappler or a wrestler, you know. Oh my God! But this is the one. He's against a wrestler, so I'm kind of excited. But I'm not going to pay for the pay-per-view. Dave just sent me another link to a fucked up
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
Bleep that out.
Yeah, like that one in the Sphere, it sounds so awesome. You're like, oh, it's such a cool venue. But like that's literally what they're selling is the seats in the Sphere. The UFC event itself, like it's the worst card. There's that main event with Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, who is a really good fighter. I actually like Merab a lot, and I want him to win. However, he is significantly shorter than Sean O'Malley and has a lot smaller reach. His arms and legs aren't as long. So, like, Sean O'Malley's going to be able to hit him a lot. So, if Merab's not able to take him down, he runs a risk of getting knocked out. But just like that fight itself, that seems like a co-main event to me. It doesn't even seem like it should be the headline of a card. And like the rest of the card itself, there's a lot of like unknown fighters on it. There's nobody really exciting. And it's just like this is supposed to be like a huge event at the Sphere. It's supposed to be really cool. Like, but at the same time, like I think the Sphere would be really cool for a concert and like watching music or like something with video. Like, I don't want to see a giant half dome screen of two guys laying on top of each other. Like, it sounds horrible. Like, I don't feel like being in the Sphere would be that great to begin with. And then, but like, if you had really good fights, like it would make up for it. But I feel like there's a bunch of no-name fighters, so I'm not even that excited about it.
Yeah, and it's, what is it called? Not Noche, Noche. It's like
Yeah,
a
Noche.
Mexican holiday, right?
Something. Yes.
Yes,
There's
with
some
the
kind of
very Mexican Sean O'Malley.
yeah, like they're promoting it like with a lot they have a lot of Mexican fighters on the card, but not in the main event, which was strange because I feel like there was someone oh, it's like Alexa Grasso like could have been on the card, I feel like. Or maybe
No, oh
she
yeah, she
is.
is. Yeah, she's
Oh, she's the
second.
co-main event.
Yeah, co-main. Yeah,
Okay. That
but
makes
she's the only
sense.
Mexican. The other two are Russian, and then Sean O'Malley's a douchebag American. Hate him. I hate him. All right.
How do
Yeah,
you
he
feel
is the
about him,
worst.
though?
I don't
So what, John?
How do you feel about him, though?
Oh my
I feel like
gosh.
he's like the bantamweight version of Israel Adesanya, where it's like they can only strike, they can't grapple at all, and if you put them against someone who can kind of grapple, they're gonna lose. And like that's what happened like for Israel Adesanya when he faced DDP. Like he got knocked out, but like he kind of DDP got in his head because he was able to grapple him and hold him and like just mixing it up a little bit with the grappling. And I don't know. And Sean O'Malley will have the same demise that Israel Adesanya had because when your specialty is only striking, eventually a grappler will mess you up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's hope that happens. That it? Can
But not to
John
us.
awaken from this topic?
Grapple? What?
All right. Well, that was the show. Like, subscribe, comment if you're on YouTube. Go to a few GoldilockBears.com, and also we're going to be on another website in about a month. You're gonna have to go to that EC Hometown Radio. Look out. I was Vincent Cloud.
And I'm John Nemes.
And I'm David Lauer, and I just saw a creepy shadow behind me, so I'm going to go investigate it.
No.